Okay, welcome back. Tractate Shabbos, page 39. Start from the top. We're holding in Perek Shlishi, the third chapter. Chapter name is Kira. We'll start with V'lo yafkienu b'sudorim.
Okay.
We ended off learning that slightly roasting an egg against the side of a kettle is also considered an act of cooking under biblical law. V'lo yafkienu b'sudorim, nor may one break it open and fry it upon hot scarves. So you have hot scarves, maybe they were heated by the sun, and now you would take egg, break it, and cook it by these hot scarves. The Gemara says, "V'lo yafkienu b'sudorim," you should not do it. But now concerning that which we learned in the following Mishnah, we may place a cooked dish in a pit in order that it be preserved. Good water in stale water in order that it cool off. And cold water in the sun in order that it be heated. Shall we say that this is that this Mishnah, which permits cooking with the heat of the sun, is in accord with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi and not the opinion of the rabbis? Everyone agrees when it comes to cooking in the sun itself, all agree that it is permissible. The soldus ha'u, concerning cooking with derivatives of fire, the heat of a kettle or scarves that were heated on a fire, no one disagree that it is forbidden. All agree that it is forbidden. Kipligi, when is the machlokes b'soldus hachamu, the derivatives of the heat of the sun, such as hot scarves that had baked in the sun. Our master, the rabbis, hold that we decree that one may not cook with derivatives of the sun because of the possibility of that these might be confused with the derivatives of fire. But other master, Rabbi Yossi, holds that we do not decree this, and therefore cooking with derivatives of sun is permitted, since all agree that it is permitted to cook with the heat of the sun itself. The ruling of the side of the Mishnah is a unanimous one. One may not bury it in sand or in the dust of the roads in order that it be roasted. Rabbi Yossi should dispute the opinion of the rabbis in regard to this case as well, since the sand or dust in which the egg is buried is heated by the sun. Rabbi Yossi ought to permit cooking it in the sand. Why does he not dispute this ruling as he did the previous one? The Gemara presents two opinions as why Rabbi Yossi concedes that burying food in hot sand is forbidden. Rabbi Yossi concedes here due to a decree that was enacted out of concern that perhaps he will insulate food with hot ash. If you allow him to insulate food or to store food in hot sand, he might insulate food with hot ash. Because when burying food in the sand, he moves the earth from its place. So what practical difference between them, between the Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef? There is a practical difference between them in regard to burying an egg in hot, loose earth. According to Rabbi, even this is forbidden, but according to Rabbi Yosef, it is permitted. It comes to loose earth. They challenge Rabbi Yosef on the basis of the following: one may roast an egg slightly on a hot roof that has baked in the sun. So you roast the egg on a hot roof but it doesn't say rolls it, but the Hebrew meaning from a galgalin means to roll. One may roast an egg slightly on a hot roof, but one may not roast an egg slightly on hot lime that was heated by fire. If it was heated by the sun, fine, but if it was heated by the fire, no. This is understandable according to the one who says bearing food in a hot sand is prohibited due to a decree that was enacted out of concern that perhaps one will insulate food with hot ash. Leika lemigzar, there is no basis for applying this decree to the case of roasting an egg on a hot roof, since there is not enough sand there in which to bury the egg, and one merely places it on the surface of the roof. The one who said because he moves dirt from its place. So it's prohibited because of the concern that he might move the dirt or the soil from its place. Ligzar, then Rabbi Shimon Gamliel should apply the decree even to the case of roasting on a hot roof, since there may be some earth on the roof which the person might have moved around in order to cover the egg. So why is he permitting it? For most roofs don't have sand and dirt on them. Tashma. Famous, this anecdote was discussed yesterday about the people of Tveria taking a pipe that has running cold water in it and causing it to, putting it inside the hot springs of Tiberias, and by doing so, the water being heated. What was the story there? The sages said to them, if water flowed through the pipe on the Shabbos, it is like hot water that was heated manually on the Shabbos, and is forbidden for both bathing and drinking. Now, the hot springs of Tiberias do not derive their heat from a fire, yet the sages forbade the use of water heated by the springs, and Rabbi Yossi concurred with the ruling. He also says, this is understandable according to the one, according to Rabbah, who says that according to Rabbi Yossi, bearing food in hot sand is prohibited due to a decree that was enacted out of concern that perhaps one will insulate food with hot ash. I knew the damilat mono because it's similar, its analogies, meaning the case of the Tiberian pipe is analogous to the case of burying an egg in hot sand. But according to the one who says that the issue is because he might move dirt from its place, what is there to say? What connection can be between the burial of an egg in sand and the incident involving the Tiberian water pipe? Do you think that the Tiberian incident is mentioned in the Mishnah in connection with the last clause, which deals with burying an egg in hot sand, and that the reason the sages prohibited use of the pipe is the same as the reason for the prohibition against burying an egg in the sand? No, it is mentioned in connection with the earlier clause. One may not break an egg upon hot scarves that had baked in the sun. Rabbi Yossi permits this. This incident of the Tiberian water pipe is cited by the rabbis, is supported of the view, and so the incident of the Tiberian water pipe is cited by the rabbis in support of the view that it is forbidden to cook with heat that is derived from the sun. And the rabbi said to Rabbi Yossi, the incident of the Tiberian people is derivative of the sun, not directly from the sun. And the rabbis of that time forbade them to use the water. Who told this that heat of the Tiberian hot springs is actually a derivative of fire. Why? very interesting statement. Since the waters are heated by fire when they pass by the gates of Gehenna. What does it mean? It says in 22, this is an interpretation of the Mishnah according to Rabbi Yosef's view. According to Rabbah, however, the true interpretation is the one presumed above, that the incident was cited in support of the unanimous ruling prohibiting the enactment of food in a hot material such as sand. To summarize the discussion to this point, A. Cooking with fire or heat derived from fire prohibited biblically. B. Cooking through exposure to the rays of the sun is permissible. C. Cooking with heat that is derived from the sun is the subject of a dispute. The rabbis, as represented by the Tanna Kama of our Mishnah, forbid it categorically due to the concern for confusion between this and heat derived from fire. Rabbi Yossi, however, permits it. D. Rabbi Yossi concedes that it is forbidden to encase food in hot sand. According to Rabbah, this is a decree that was enacted out of concern that one might insulate food with hot ash. The prohibition applies not only to sand, but to enveloping food in any hot material, such as a hot spring water. According to Rabbi Yosef, however, encasing food in hot sand is prohibited because of the displacement of sand, moving muktzah, or the concern for digging a hole, which is one is the opinion of Tosfos, one is the opinion of Rashi. So Rashi is more concerned with digging a hole. Tosfos is concerned with the muktzah aspect of it. The prohibition is limited to cases involving sand or dust. Anyway, this is a very interesting point about the water of Tiberias. Says they're going through the reason why they're being heated is not because of the sun. They're not heated by the sun, they're not heated by fire. So then the Gemara says they are heated by fire, the fire of Gehenna.
Like what Rabbi Yossi said.
Passed by the gates of Gehenna. Amar Chisda. Mimaise Sheoson Shetveya, from the incident that the people of Tveria did, Ve'osu Rabbanan, the rabbis prohibited this, using this water heated by the hot springs of Tiberias. Batla hatmana bedavar meisifem. They said you should not do hatmana, should not do insulation with something that adds heat. Even if you're doing the insulation, if you do this insulation during the day, and you're hoping that continuing on Shabbos it will stay there. Afilum b'yom. Amarula alocha kan shetveria. Amarulu Rav Nachman kvar svarniu anshe Tveria lesilunai. He says, like Ula said, the halacha actually follows the Tiberians, and not the sages who forbade the use of the water pipe. That's Ula. But Rav Nachman said to him, to Ula, the Tiberians themselves already destroyed their pipe because they retracted their opinion and conceded that the halacha follows the sages. So even the Tiberian people follow the sage. There was an incident in which the people of Tiberias went ahead. The sages said to them, if water flowed through the pipe on the Shabbos, it is like hot water that was heated manually on the Shabbos, and it is forbidden for both bathing and drinking. To what type of bathing did the sages refer? Is it the entire body or part of the body? If you say they're referring to bathing the entire body, I will ask, the statement implies that it is only the use of hot water that was heated on the Shabbos that is forbidden. What about chami and hot water that were heated before Shabbos? Is permitted. Accordingly, can they have been referring to bathing the entire body? Vatanya, but it was taught in the Baisa, hot water that was heated before the Shabbos. On the following day, the Shabbos, one may wash his face, hands, and feet with them, but not his entire body, since it is forbidden to bathe the entire body even with water heated before the Shabbos. The sages could not have been referring to bathing the entire body. Rather, perhaps you will say that they refer to washing one's face, hands, and feet, which is permitted with water that was heated before the Shabbos and is forbidden only with water that was heated on the Shabbos. But consider the latter clause of the sages. If water would flow through the pipe on a festival, it would be like water that was heated manually on a festival. And it would be forbidden for bathing, but permitted for drinking. Now, if the Mishnah is dealing with washing the face, hands, and feet, the latter clause implies that this is forbidden with water that was heated on a festival. This is true only according to Beis Shammai, and is disputed by Beis Hillel, as we shall soon see. Shall we say that our Mishnah has taught an anonymous ruling in accordance with the opinion of Beis Shammai, that not it says Beis Shammai say a person may not warm up hot water for his feet on a festival unless it is fit for drinking, unless the water is fit for drinking. Beis Hillel permitted. If you interpret our Mishnah as dealing with washing the hands, face, and feet, it must follow the opinion of Beis Shammai, and this cannot be correct. What type of bathing then are we dealing with? We are dealing with rinsing one's entire body, with showering, rather than with bathing. And our Mishnah holds that the prohibition against bathing in hot water that was heated before the Shabbos does not extend to rinsing the entire body. Tonahu, and the Mishnah is reflective of the view of the following Tana, the view of Rabbi Shimon. One may not rinse his entire body either with hot water or cold water. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Shimon Mati, Rabbi Shimon permits it. Rabbi Yehuda says rinsing the entire body with hot water is forbidden, even if the water was heated before the Shabbos. However, but rinsing it with cold water is permitted. Our Mishnah reflects the view of Rabbi Shimon. Having cited the Tanoic dispute concerning rinsing with hot water, the Gemara clarifies it. The dispute between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda concerning rinsing with hot water pertains to water that is in a vessel. But as for water that is in the ground, all agree that it is permissible to rinse with it. But the incident of the Tiberians involved water that was in the ground, yet the rabbis forbade them to rinse it. Rather, if anything was stated by Rav Chisda, this is what was stated. The dispute pertains to rinsing with water that is in the ground. But as for water that is in a vessel, all agree that it is prohibited to rinse with it. Amar B'Chanan v'Yochanan, halacha k'Rabbi Yehuda, the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda. It says in 16, it is prohibited, thus it is prohibited to bathe or rinse the entire body or the majority of the body on the Shabbos with hot water, even if it was heated before the Shabbos. It is customary. You can see it in also Irachaim 326:1. It is customary to refrain from bathing at all, even in cold water. Mishnah Bura 326:1. See Mogen Avram. Concerning showering with cold water, see Igros Moshe, which is Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory, Irachaim, concerning bathing on Yom Tov. That's another inyan. Amar Rabbi Chana, Rabbi Yochanan, Lo Chidi Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yosef said to Rabbi Chana, Mi pirush mi alach, or mi klolish melach. Did you hear this explicitly from Rabbi Yochanan? Or did you learn it through inference from something else that he said? My klolo, what inference was Rabbi Yosef referring? Which statement of Rabbi Yochanan might have been construed as indicating that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda? The Rabbi Tanchum Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yana Amar Rabbi Ami. Wherever you encounter two Tanoim who disagree and a third one who mediates between them, the halacha follows the opinion of the mediator. Chutz, except mikule matlonius, except for the case of the dispute concerning rags that were disintegrated for an insignificant use. Thank you. Chutz mikule matlonius, except for the case of the dispute concerning rags that were designated for an insignificant use. Although Rabbi Lezer rules stringently, Rabbi Yochanan rules leniently, and Rabbi Akiva mediates between them, mediates between them, the halacha does not follow the opinion of the mediator for two reasons. Firstly, because Rabbi Akiva was a student of Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua, and the view of a student does not outweigh the view of his teacher, even when the student is a mediator. And furthermore, why Rabbi Akiva retracted his opinion in favor of Rabbi Yeshua? Perhaps this statement of Rabbi Yochanan led Rabbi Bar Chana to conclude that concerning our case, Rabbi Yochanan would hold that the halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda, whose position is that of a mediator. So we'll continue the daf tomorrow. We are going to learn Tractate Sota. Tractate Sota. Stay with us. I think we're all in daf Hey today.
Yeah.